Assault to take a slender lead. A half, 3/4 Coco Sun on Air Assault. Warmongers flashing down the outside. Coco Sun in front from Warmonger. Jamie Carr gets her Group 1 in South Australia.
Welcome to Bet Doctor Behind the Curtain. Look at how pro punters operate. I'm your host, Scoot. I've got Johnny Walter coming off the long run this morning. Good to see you, John, in your Augusta green.
Good morning, Nick.
Great. DK, you've been carrying us down in Melbourne. You've been the Lone Ranger down there. It's good to see Nico back, the birthday boy.
He's back. Nico's back, yeah, and you can have those. Glad he's back too. You can have those metro races. I can't fire at them. I'm back to the resis, back to the twos. Me in the bush where I rightly belong. How you going, Nico?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to be back. Survived the Bulls, so keen to get stuck into Caulfield this Saturday.
Unfair dismissal. Oh, geez, we felt for you there, mate. The cheering over. He's going to win this, and then
Max Payne.
What, you take 20s or something too? Would have been a
30,
prize.
34, I think we took. The great game.
The great game. There it is again.
Just a quick one while we're talking Bull, Battle of the Bull winners. Brian Satch was the overall winner. He won day one, then he won the overall prize, so he pocketed 3,000, so absolute cracker there. James Rice, he won 1,000, day two. Glenn Batchelor won day three. Batchelder, I think it is. Sorry, mispronounced your name there. And the winning totals were 175.50 for first, 173. So it was a tough contest at the top, and then 153 was third there for the dividends. They're a little bit small on the screen there, so you can't see it, but around $22 spread for the first, second, third there. So I think they outlaid $108 in fantasy cash and $175.50 to win. So pretty good results there on, I'd say, Diabolical Bull, or just very, very, very tough to win. And 5K courtesy of TopSport's been brilliant. And then over 6 of the Pro Form subs. So just under 10K worth of prizes for the Battle of the Bull. So great way to keep everyone interested. And we'll try and fire another one of those up because it was quite popular. So sure, everyone enjoyed that one. And the feedback's been pretty strong there. DK, one for you. Lewis German and Michael Poy have got those race-fixing allegations hanging over their head. I think you were onto this one pretty early.
I was, yeah. I was surprised. I mean, it's been 2 years, but it was 2 years ago when I sort of got a sniff something was going on, and sort of just flicking through, saw a race and flicking through a stewards report, and sort of referred to the betting intelligence unit. It was a race at Sandown about on the 1st of June. Anyone wants to go and find that. But, so I thought that, and then it came out 2 years later that when I saw that, I thought, geez, the stewards aren't going to let this go. And they've obviously taken the ball to line get their ducks in a row and work it all out. But, so it was Lewis German, Michael Poy, and then there's this Noah Brash, who's this supposed professional punter or form analyst they're dealing with. And then Miss A. Vass. So I've worked out Miss A. Vass is Poy's missus. And Noel Brash, the only lineup. Poy's good mates with Jordan Rolfe, a trainer from Perth, and one of the reasons he probably went over there. So, and I found Noel Brash has been buying some tried horses and sending them to Jordan Rolfe. So it's the only times I could find there, but didn't know much about it. But no, I don't think it was much of a shock to anyone that I think it's been sort of a few people have been whispering about something was going to happen, and it's finally the charges have been laid.
Nice little sleuthing, DK. You could be in the wrong game.
Yeah, good.
Investigative journalist.
Yeah,
Detective DK.
Yeah, I loved it.
Because when he said pro, that's what got me. I wanted to have a look at it. No, professional punter, Noel Brash. And I said, normally, most professional punters, or they pop up somewhere. I said, never ever heard of this bloke. So, Google's pretty handy these days. So I'm flicking through and, sort of lining a few things up there to try and get the connection between them all. But anyway, there's a bit to answer there from what the stewards of the charges that have been filed. Anyway,
yeah, I think there's the allegations. I think surround a horse called Blistering, and there's it's a tape that you should be watching, and it's amazing footage. But DK, like a dog on a bone, I think he dropped it in our Bet Doctor lads chat there, and it was on it pretty early. Have a look at this one. It looks NQR, but they'll be doing well to fight those allegations, those boys. It's obviously 2 years, a long time coming. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But they're up against it, I would have thought. The Vic government, they're up against it as well. A $91 million POC tax revision on their budgets over the next 3 years. So that means that $13.5 million less flow through to RV, and that's based on modelling, and modelling's no given. And so if the market tends to, or pressure stays on, which it will, given interest rates are tough, and the wagering landscape is so tough, crikey, there's going to be, they're saving $800,000 a year at RV at the moment with the CEO gone, but they're going to have to look for other cost-cutting measures, I would have thought, to keep things afloat. And they're not on their lonesome. RV, obviously, Racing New South Wales, they're in the mix as well, because it's quite comical, really, that they're in court with the tab, re the Kosciuszko ticket sales. It reads like parody if you go through and find the articles, and they reckon they've lost $6 million. So their ticket sales are down 20%, and it's the tab's fault for not promoting it. So they're looking for scapegoats, and they're also looking to keep the cash from the Rose Hill sale. So looks like PVL had a meeting with Chris Minns or some of the New South Wales government, and their intention was to sell Rose Hill, keep the cash, and keep it away from ATC and their members. So I think it's starting to get a pretty big whiff about it now. It was probably, farting in elevator levels early doors, but it's a bit of a waft of an abattoir, I think. It's got a big stink about it, and there's a massive, massive prize money boost, or it's been off the charts in New South Wales. So these states that are trying to flex with all this prize money, they're gonna be hit hard, and the Vic government's already pulled the pin on their budget figures for the next 3 years. And we've been saying it. I hate to, beat the chest and say, we've been onto this for the last, it feels like we've been talking about it for 18 months. The writing's been on the wall, and the chickens are starting to come home to roost. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of, cards fall over the next sort of 6 to 12 months, because as a punter, it feels like we're pretty much at rock bottom, I would have thought. John Walter, anything to add at all?
Oh, you got to be careful, but I reckon 3 or 4 years is more like what we've been talking about it, if not longer. I think it was pre-COVID was starting to look scary. Then, some people got the COVID hit, or racing got the COVID hit, but it was never for us. We never got any sort of reprieve as a punter during that. The industry itself just got a bit excited, I think. And, I would say that being a betting human, if they're planning on $91 million going missing, which is, what did you say, 13.5 to the industry.
Double it.
Minimum, double it, triple it, quadruple it, whatever you want to do. It's in a pretty ordinary shape, I would imagine, and not all of it's there doing, like saying, huge economic shifts that are playing a part as well. But you've got to pivot for those things, haven't you? Rather than other New South Wales is looking at putting it to 20. They're talking about the POC. You talked a couple of weeks ago about RV looking at ways to maybe encourage turnover a little bit more. There was another article from Tristan today that I read very briefly, where he basically, I think one of the summary quotes was that turnover is no longer a key metric for them. It's more about putting a shark fence around them. And I'm assuming we're the sharks. So, that's literally the model of bookmakers now, is to try and put a fence up to keep us out. We're the people that allegedly can afford to sustainably turn over money in the industry, and they're putting a net around to keep us out. How can that be good for the industry?
It's a funny one, because not everyone wins all the time. Everyone goes through ebbs and flows. So I would have thought you'd need all the turnover, and I think what Tristan's saying is correct. It should be a turnover-driven game, and we just need to tinker with that model to get it right. It's interesting to hear that stallion fees year on year are down a further 15% than they usually drop down. So that's the first chink and the first real sign that the breeding industry is coming off. Which is, I think it's a positive. And there's only a couple of levers that you can really pull. You can either have more tax, which is counterintuitive. I would have thought you can take your foot off the prize money and drop the prize money and lower your cost, because it is a cost. Or otherwise, you can cut back on your marketing and your other expenses at administration level. And that's the only options you've really got, because people just can't find extra money out of thin air. And if everyone's struggling to turn over money the way it is, something has to give, and it's just a matter of time before it does.
We've got the product, that's the thing, and that's why I had a bitch during the week with on Tuesday, the old Tuesday Twitter meltdown, and you got to streamline the whole thing. What do punters want to bet on? Highest quality horses, best tracks, best jockeys. Okay, well, it might be tough, but there's, I think, the nicest way to put it, there's a the game's been running. It's great to have a lot of hobbyists involved and things like that, but you probably got to bring it up to a more professional level across the board and support that by giving them better facilities or whatever, everything we can throw at it, jockeys, trainers, everything, make everything more professional across the board so that it sort of brings itself. If you look at Hong Kong, you would say at every level, highly professional and
efficient.
Whilst we've got, it's very different here. We probably need to bring it up to that level as much as we can. Stewards, everyone.
There could be more tracks to go, and it probably just shouldn't be your
city
top,
one.
top two.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I don't. Yeah, consolidating, bringing down your overheads, like you say, is just cutting the fat to a certain degree and spending where it should be spent. Not like the prize money is great, but it just doesn't get distributed. And stallions are the same. Like your breeding side's the same. It goes somewhere. It doesn't get distributed throughout the industry. Doesn't make it sustainable. That's what we need to. Competitive nature of everything. These huge trainers and stuff. Good luck to them. They're going out. They're doing their best. They're operating within the current guidelines, but they're not doing any favors for the industry as a whole. Which is what it just seems that all the sectors are like that. You got the top breeders, the top trainers. Jockeys are a little bit different, are all going okay, and then there's a massive drop-off to the rest.
And even with the syndicates, like the biggest teams and big professionals are pretty much immune to what's happening at the moment. They're still winning because they've got such a big edge.
What's that? Punters?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they are. They're still.
Well, I would say that 80% of professional punters are gone already. I'd say. What level are you saying? And like you're talking your Jelcos, they've moved out of our market. You're talking Dr. Nick, he's moved out of our market.
Well, Dr. Nick's
it's getting harder for them.
He saw the light a couple of years ago, didn't he, Dr. Nick?
That's what I mean. So they're not winning what they were. Yeah,
they're still winning. There's still some big players winning. No doubt.
But most are moving out of our climate because it's becoming less attractive.
Yeah, and they're starting to spread all throughout the world and focusing on other jurisdictions. DK, you got anything more to add?
Oh, no, you two went into it, but I'm just waiting for it. I mean, they won't admit it, but they heaved prize money up, way too high anyway, off the COVID hit and stuff like that. And RV first round, before we trim any prize money, we've got to trim the fat here, which they did last year, and they trimmed a little bit off the All-Star Mile, or $1 million, and their own expenses, and the next place they've got to trim is prize money, and they won't admit it. They won't, but at some stage, income versus expenditure, that's the biggest expenditure, so it's going to have to versus the income drops. It's just business. That's how we run a business. So at some stage, the prize money's got to come down. I would have thought. We'll
give Nico a bye because it's his birthday, and it's the politics is not really his sweet spot anyway. But this Saturday, it's big weather watch up in Queensland. Got a new sponsor on board, as you can see, logo in the background. You got RQ's jumped on board, so they got the Queensland Racing Carnival. The next 11 weeks are going to be sensational racing up here, and our Queensland man, Donnie, has been on fire with the syndicate bets. He had one on Sunday, $11 into $2.20 on Sunday off the trials, which is a cracker. And I'll get some Little Birdie syndicate figures updated, and we'll tweet them out tomorrow. Been under the pump with the bull, misses away. So apologies there, but I'll get that done for everyone. Walt, you'll be pulling whatever's left of your red hair out with Port Lockroy. Absolute cracking run, but no.
Yeah, it was half expected, wasn't it? But you think one day they're going to put it in the race rather than just shuttling it around Australia and dragging it out and giving it the toughest time possible. But, it'll draw a gate one day or something and get up and knock us off the day we get off it and back something else to beat it.
Tough game. We had Hawkesbury last week, bit of a washout, hard to turn over money there. You've got Gosford this weekend. You found a bet. You're going to go up to the Sunshine Coast to find another one there.
Yeah, well, so a heavy 10 at the Sunshine Coast. Gosford, maybe they talked about Rosehill or something. It might be shifted to still, so that could completely change it. Could be off. Who knows? It's awesome at the moment, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Cloud seeding. Nico, you're back fresh for Caulfield, which is good. We're going to have a look at the Group 1 Goodwood. DK got Mal Wallach, so he can explain a little bit of Big Jimmer later too at the end of the show, because I'll tell you what, that horse needs to have life, if not already. I'll be having a look at a couple of the Sunshine Coast races under a bit of duress, given that there's another 8 mil forecast to hit up at the Sunny Coast. But hat tip to Queensland for moving the races. Would have been diabolical at the Gold Coast with that shifty track. So I'd rather they wait and then be on a more surer surface up at the Sunshine Coast. SA Derby, looking in the rearview mirror, it's not a good-looking rearview mirror either. Warmonger second, hurt, and then Ahariri, our second bet in the race, would send most backers into the asylum.
Yeah, and you get the steward's report where it said one line, about 8 words, Ahariri found trouble at the 600-metre mark or something. I'm like, are they taking the piss? It should have had about a page and a half if they wanted to go through the every check that poor horse cop. But geez, it's a line finder. Once it gets 2,400 plus, I haven't seen too many horses look more promising as a stayer that we've actually born and bred for a while. I don't know if she's super fast, but she stays. My goodness.
Yeah, not much into breeding, but the Almazors go all right. What do you reckon of Ahariri DK? Fair run? Should have won?
Yeah, I was just, I don't know. What do you do? It was just typical of the day for me. Just everything went
That's
wrong.
what it was. That's what it was. But
yeah, Coco Sun steamed through 2,500 and Ruri's back in the shithouse. So what can you do? Anyway.
It's the best ride won the race by a mile for sure. That was
in the right spot. Yeah, no good if you were on Coco Sun the start before. Oof. TopSport Steam were good, 4 from 4. We talked him into a bit of form. Coco Sun $7, the Shaper at $11, Typhoon Tavi $2.15, and then Fall for Sydney in that bloody photo finish.
Drove through it won, didn't it?
I thought so.
Is that the one where it was the one who won and the other one looked like a better short half head and they called it a dead heat? That was a good one.
Yeah.
I've still never seen a high def photo. It was just that grainy thing they put up where he's dead set got beat a short half head. But anyway,
hopefully someone out there had the all up, the TopSport Steam all up. Just had a little bit of a nibble. Would have paid anything.
All 4-1, did they?
All 4-1. I think that's never happened before. Oh, it might have happened before. Maybe 3 from 3.
Tristan will be over the moon with that.
Well, we did talk him into form. We're like, oh yeah, Tristan's sending us his lays and sure as buggery. 4 out of 4 lob. Top Sport, speaking about Top Sport, best of the best on all Queensland group racing. I repeat, Bob is back on all group races in Queensland. So Racing Queensland are turning the dial, which is great to see. And there is no other state in Australia that are operating with a favourable tax rate to offer this product. So this is big news. So you don't have to sit there and fish out a price. You can take the missus out for lunch. You just back the horse and whatever the top fluctuation or best tote is, you get that. How simple. So all of a sudden the betting window has gone from the first 15 minutes to the last 5 minutes to now, as soon as Tristan loads the races on a Thursday and puts Bob.
Go Bob. And it's great. It's great.
What a
not having
revelation.
crack at Tristan, but he's not putting that up without having discussions with Racing Queensland and getting an allowance for it, because literally he'd be burning money otherwise the way other states operate. So it's great to see that Jason or whoever it is really having a crack at trying to motivate some turnover.
Be good to see RV and a couple of other states sort of follow suit. The other thing is that is a little bit of a bugbear of mine, and especially with just watching those horses sort of go off last week in Adelaide. When is the WAs, the Adelaides, the New South Wales going to fall in line with opening the minimum bet laws when markets go up on Wednesdays? Sitting there and waiting till 9 o'clock on race day is honestly 1990s practice. It's ridiculous.
I'm not even going to argue about that. It's such a joke anyway now. They put 1:30 something. They all sit there and do nothing until 5 minutes out. It's funny. Like, it seems Sportsbet do the opposite. They go 1 or 2% under everyone until the last 5 minutes. Then they go over everyone high, and they're the biggest operator. It's really weird because they must just think anyone's going to play. They suck the early guys in with a little bit better price. So they've worked it. And you've got people like Tristan who maybe do the opposite. They duck and weave the first wave, and then late they want to be competitive when they're confident in the market. It's interesting to see, isn't it? Like, it's like Sportsbet, you would believe if poor old Tristan's got an analytics team of me and Rexy the dog, Sportsbet's probably got a floor worth of them. So it's interesting to show that the way they're targeting the Rex is to slightly over everyone, and then at the end they bail out because they just know anyone's going to take whatever price the last 5 minutes. Amazing.
I'm not all positive RQ. I think I did read that they want to, I guess, beef up their winter carnival, and they're trying to aim up to match it with the spring, or they want to compete, spring, autumn, and they want to be renowned for this winter carnival and make it bigger, which is great. And so hopefully they upgrade some facilities, and I'm sure they will over time in Doomben and Eagle Farm, and once they get Gold Coast right. But low-hanging fruit for Jason Scott is the NBL. I think they're at 1,000. You can just whack that straight up to $2,000, and it's good to see some of the bigger operators already bet you to win sort of 2,000 on the Queensland races from the get-go. So that's a breath of fresh air, but you may as well try and up the stakes and just blanket rule up it to $2,000. So double for the Metros is the next easy one to tick off, I would have thought, for RQ. So let's get that happening sooner rather than later. Nico, your fresh legs here. Walt, me and DK have been doing all the talking here. So Caulfield Race 4 is your first project here over 1,600 metres. It's the Rod Fenwick Handicap. Elphinstone is the favourite here, $3. Jayla Kennedy rides with a 3 kilo claim. She's been going okay. Shaw is $4.80. Fist of Fury $5.50. Knucklebones is $6. SK is $13. Willabaloo is $13. Shoeless $14. And My Xanadu $15. And then you got American Style at $21 and Hydrogen Power, similar quote. You're going outside the market here. My Xanadu, Blue Blood here, Fasten at Rock Lights of Heaven. She was a good horse.
She was a good horse, and maybe this filly's somewhat like her. This was on debut at 1,200 metres. Doesn't really show a huge turn of foot here, but I just like the way she won. Has no idea what she's doing when she hit the front. Look at her ears. They're completely up in the air. Wanted to lay back in towards the inside horse. I don't think this was the weakest maiden you'll ever see. There's been some form out of it today. The third horse runs at Kyneton today, so we'll get a bit of a guide there. But I just thought she won with a lot in hand. And if she can get up to, 1,600 metres here and potentially improve somewhat from that debut outing, which you'd think she would, I just thought this was a race where it was a bit up for grabs. She could just be a filly that's potentially on the up, and a few of these horses like Elphinstone and a few others have had some tough preparations. I'm just looking for that on Caulfield on Saturday. A lot of those horses coming through the Vobis meeting would have been set for that program and set for those races. So just to sort of get them back and keep them up and going, getting into the winter months now, just probably a little bit of a question mark on a few of those runners. And I just thought the way she won that race, I still think there's a lot up the sleeve. She didn't smash the clock, and I think that's probably why she's around $15 and not shorter, because visually, I think there's a lot to come. And she ran, the sixth fastest last 1,000 of the meeting. The race is rated about a length above the maiden class average. But like I said, if the third horse comes out and wins today at Kyneton, it's a short price favourite. You'd expect it to be going close. That would be a bit of a frank on the form. You probably know the maiden form better than me, DK, but I just thought she was given her breeding up to 1,600 metres, she could be a filly with a lot of upside.
It was interesting placement, when I saw her straight to the mile. I wasn't sure about her on debut. She'd taken a long time to get to the races. So Moody...
Yeah, I went back and watched her jump outs. There's nothing sort of flash in there.
And there was four preps worth of them. Like 4 go jump out, spell, 2 jump out, spell, jump out, spell. So Moody had showed a lot of patience with her, which he doesn't generally do. I know people have got horses with him, and he's pretty hard. He's a hard marker, Moody, on him, and not showing much. They're out the door. So it's obviously showed him something. Linda got off there and said what you said there. Said, I was a bit worried she was pulling up on me a bit because they had their ears plugged. But they said, what would you do with her now? And he said, she said, book a ticket to Queensland.
Really?
So she's a good filly. That's what she said. So I'd say she's here on trial. If she runs well here, she can go to Queensland. I mean, Judy Wanless lives up there. She can watch it. But she said that was Linda's feedback. So she's obviously thinks she's got a bit of class. As you said here, you can find a few negatives with the others there. So I don't mind your thinking here, Nico.
Yeah, well, that's what I went sort of looking for. Like the second favourite, Shaw, who he won a maiden last start, was.
Well, the problem here is, and not to sink the boots into jockeys, but Zach Spain, like he's one win from his last 50 rides or something, isn't he? Like he's on a real run of outs. There's one negative. Who was next?
Good opportunity. He was just out of a really slow run race.
Elphinstone's El Curry to the 3 kilo apprentice. El Curry gave it every possible hope and everything.
12
following
out of
a slap
10.
the other day. Who else is in there?
Yeah, and then Fury's the class horse, but he's got 60 kilos. He's got to give the rest of the field 6 kilos pretty much.
Yeah, so I don't mind you thinking the up-and-comer stepping up in trip,
Yep, good breeding. Hopefully Linda just gives her a similar ride, parks in near the speed. She's at second over 1,200 on debut. She's going to be up there over a mile, and just think she might out-tough a few here. She definitely got some ability. Whether she knows exactly what to do yet, it's probably the question mark, but there's definitely some ability there. And at $15, I was happy to have a stab.
Outstanding stuff. I'm pretty happy to back Jayla Kennedy, but I've got similar concerns as the boys sort of raised. But nice little value bet and handsomely rewarded if you pull it off, Nico. So $15 at TopSport for my Xanadu. Let's have a look at race 6 at Caulfield. And you got the Darren Gauci handicap over 2,000 metres. And this is a beauty. This one, Move for Lex is 550. Paddy Payne, one last start back from the abyss. Albanian I Am 650. Chaluli 750. Deshingus Prestige $8. Hope I got that one right. It's been 11 into $8. Quantum Cat $9. Tommy $11. Fagan $11, and then you got New York Hurricane 14. Wascally 16. Moya Lass 18. Kings Crossing $21. Arden Green similar quote, and much better the rest. Had a look at the replay of Deshingus Prestige, and I thought he was chasing a fair way out here, Nico.
Yeah, but this is the key part of the race. 4 the 2 is the second fastest split of the entire race, and then he's just held up with nowhere to go here, and Kira Mars colours back towards the inside. The horse down the outside's Quantum Cat with the white blaze. He opened up about $7, and Deshingus went up about 12, I think, and that's sort of been corrected. I think if he had had the luck there late, he would have been stemming home in the finish, and that's been a hot form race. It did look like it was going to be that way at the time. Cadmus has won out of the race. Dashing won out of that race also, so it seemed like a good race, and he just didn't have anywhere to go there. Like I said, quickest for the 2 split of that race, or second fastest, and I think if he was just building his momentum at that point of the race and then just had nowhere to go. So up in distance looks a positive. He's only had 3 starts before he come to Australia, and they're all over 2,400 metres. And even leading in, his trials or jump outs didn't look anything flash. Didn't really show a turn of foot in any of those pieces of work. So 1,600 metres on debut here in Australia. The market, they weren't too far against him. Like, he started $13. I probably would have expected him to drift further from that. So that's a bit of a push for Saturday to say they didn't completely put him in the bin. And out to 2,000 metres looks a big positive. And in a race where there's a few usual suspects. Move for Lex was a good winner last start. And then you sort of go looking deeper than that, like Albanian I Am had everything in his favour last start. I thought there was a bit of value maybe in King's Crossing. Got a bit of a tricky map, but he could be an improver. He's been backed as well. I think he opened 50 to 1. He's into 20 to 1. So there's a little bit happening in this market, but I just thought that Mar runner, if he had got a clear run at them, he would have been right in the finish. And I think the market probably didn't factor that in earlier. That definitely has now into $7.50, but horse with good upside that, he could be better than a few horses here. So I'm happy to back him in over 2,000 metres, and I think he's dropping in grade as well. Yeah, back to a 78 from an 84. And as we saw through that form line, there's good form. So happy to back him in.
Yeah, my thoughts along similar lines here, Nico, but I'm sort of more in the corner of the one who did get the wind up last start down the middle in the same race. Similar import first up, which is Quantum Cat. We saw it there in the white blaze. So it did get clear running down the middle and got home really nicely whilst Deshingo was getting held up. But the thing you didn't see at the start was Deshingo wasn't the best out of the gates, was he? Stood there, and I noticed he did that in the Voca trial leading in as well. So he sort of put himself back inside there. So he's got to be able to jump. Quantum Cat, similar profile, similar everything, and it's probably a bit more fitness. Going to the 2000s had a bit more fitness because it's been able to wind up out wide 600 from home, whereas Django Cat's a bit of a barrier trial, So I just thought it might set up a bit better for this race for Quantum Cat, but I like both those imports stepping up in trip. I thought that was Nico was on the right tram there and sort of looking at that sort of style of horse for this race.
Yeah, I think the market's really overcorrected. Like, they went up 11 and 7. Now they're 7 and 10. Like,
reversed.
It's reversed, hasn't it? Yeah. So you're getting a good price for your horse now as well.
The horse out of the market too, I was sort of happy to take on a couple of favourites at the price here. The horse that caught my eye was Fagan. Nico, I don't know what, I just like this horse, the style of this horse. He's a nice big bugger. I think he's by Fiorente. We're a breeding show now, but I thought he had a tough run behind See What I See. He was never on the track.
Got to See What I See for him, hasn't he, from his last 2 runs?
Yeah, I just penned him from the draw. That was probably the knock.
And B Higgins from the draw. Nothing against B Higgins, but a lot of the good jockeys are away this weekend, so you got to cop the C graders from the wide draws. Probably not ideal.
If you're keen to have an exact, I'd be throwing Fagan in with the two imports there. Shingus Prestige, Nico's on topper, DK like Quantum Cat, might get away a little bit cleaner, and then Scooty's little roughie there is Fagan off a pretty good forgive there. And Stokesy is on fire at the moment. He's training very well, especially with his distance horses there. So Nico shopping value at Caulfield, and fingers crossed he can get the job done there. Let's jump across the border into SA and have a look at the Goodwood market only here. Race 8, and Amelia's Jewels come up favourite, 420 into 390. Benedetta 480. Wow, in from $8. Oscar's Fortune. Learning flies down the real scratching here, so the moves are pretty spot on. Oscar's Fortune, $5.50 in from 7 IME, $7. Johnny Rocker, $8.50. Skybird, $12. Climbing Star, $18. What You Need is $20. Sharippa, $21. Stretton Angel, $26. Extremely Lucky, $34. Arkansas Kid, $41. And much, much better the rest. First thoughts when you see that market. Nico, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I think I'm going to back Amelia's Jewel. I know last start, 1,200 metres, probably didn't look her absolute go, but she does get the blinkers on Saturday, and I think similar to probably the narrative that a few people had in the Quokka, I think she's just the best horse here. Like the market saying that's the right form, with Oscar's Fortune being back, she's a better horse than Benedetta. Like there's nothing to suggest Benedetta's a real Group 1 class horse, where Amelia's Jewel definitely is. Whether she's a Group 1 horse over 1,200 metres is probably the question mark, but she gets the blinkers on. And although Malkovich and Overpass were in that Quokka, there wasn't a heap of speed outside of them. I think this race there has a potential for to be a bit more carnage early, and I think that will suit her better than how the Quokka was run, because she just didn't really have a real opportunity to show her class. She just had to sit and sprint. Whereas I think if it's more of a test, that would be better suited to her. If it's more like a 1,300, they'll bring her into play. And with the blinkers going on, I'd be expecting her to improve. And I just thought the real lead was the market. They're factoring in Oscar's Fortune as second favourite. Like I think she's got him covered, and then it's saying that there's no other real strong form lines. So if she rated right back up to her best, she'd be like an even money chance, but her best ratings are over 1,600 metres. So I don't think anyone's expecting her to do that on Saturday, but at around $4, even if she goes to where she did last start, I think that's a pretty reasonable bet for mine.
Johnny, you
it's a pretty
puzzled.
bad race. I just thought it was a very ordinary race. I can't see the speed. That's the only thing I can't see. Like I can see Oscar's Fortune, and IME went way too hard last start with its stablemate. That was really weird, whether it's carved up from that or not, but it looks drawn perfect to get that soft run again. If it sort of let Oscar's Fortune go and did what probably you were hoping it did last start and just box seat, maybe it was because that inside was so bad there. They were all trying to get off it. It could improve. It's a dead set like Group 3. God, it's an ordinary race. But anyway, it should be a handicap, I think. I don't even know. How do you explain it? I agree with Nico, to be honest. It's Amelia's draws perfect. If they go hard, she'll probably be an extra length or two back, but should be in clear running. If they don't go hard, she's drawn directly outside Oscar's Fortune, Stratton Angel, who should land in fairly on-pace spots, and she should end up, 2 or 3 lengths closer naturally. So she's got the perfect draw, which makes her the only horse I could really possibly back in the race as well. And I'd love to see Simon Miller just go nuts after the race. That's probably my motivation to watch the Goodwood.
I thought, I think I'm going to side with one of your horses, Nico. I thought Sharippa just raced a bit fresh. I think he was off a 7-week let up from the Newmarket. He had a bit of time between runs. He carried 59. He gets 3 kilos less here. If he can just find a spot, I think he can just unleash a big sprint here back on his home deck after that little pipe opener in the John Hawkes Stakes with Extremely Lucky and things like that. I think he just had a really big empty out in the last sort of 100 metres of that race, and $26 is around the traps and still $21 with TopSport. I thought he was a cracking play in a race that I couldn't really get horned up for a couple of the horses like hard in the market there. They've just got a couple of convictions, a couple of these things.
Skybird to see what she does, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather make her a winner. And then I keep hearing that Mick Price thinks What You Need's gone, but I thought his run was okay in the same sort of race as Sharippa. Like, if he just needed those 2 clean-out runs, there's worse horses than him getting around at 20.
If the Squirrel Gripper rolled forward and ended up outside Oscar's Fortune or something, that would be That would be interesting. I've still got flashbacks of the day Nico liked him in that Caulfield race where he went absolutely huge.
Which one? Trooper?
Yeah, the Squirrel Gripper, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you look at that Oakley plate run, and it's just burnt into my brain how good he went there when he missed the kick. So the horse has got a couple of tricks, but if he was too fresh, and if this has been his target since, if that was just a pipe opener run last start, he's got to be in the mix. I'm surprised he's not sort of $11 rather than $21 or $26, but...
A lot of them are beaten up. Skybird's probably the one that's got unlimited upside potentially, but did have a lot go its way last start, and this is a quantum leap. But she looks like she could outsprint most horses on the planet. So anyway,
a few horses here that could have been like what you need. I think that's probably more the narrative. Like the stables, I think the way they're talking about him is just. I think they're just disappointed he's not going to reach the heights that they thought he probably could because he has a lot of issues. So that's probably the narrative there. He's probably still good enough to win a race like the Goodwood, but I think they thought he was going to be like a champion sprinter by the way they were talking early days.
Yeah, no, his issues probably holding back. No, I couldn't get excited about much at the top of the market, Scoot. So Skybird's been one of mine since very early doors. Love Mitch, so I could have something on it at double figure odds, but reaching for the blinkers on Melias and Benedetta and probably horses who want further to keep them sharp enough at the 12. And Oscar's Fortune obviously meets the Amelia's better at the weights and all this business. But no, I could have something on Skybird, hoping she stands up for sure.
All right, puntingform.com.au is the best possible step for your transition from weekend warrior to a semi or pro punter. Or if you want to just start betting up or bet with a bit more confidence, make sure to check out puntingform.com.au and you can get a free tutorial from those guys as well. So make sure you support Punting Form. And a big thanks to them again for sponsoring our bull tipping contest. And I'm sure the new subscribers that are getting a free run are they'll be blown away with how much data and how much information you can get there. DK reeled off the Zach Spain stats. I was looking at Jayla Kennedy, and it's just a click away. So it's just so easy to navigate through. If I can use it, anyone can. Gosford on Saturday, J Dubs, painstakingly you've found a bet. I was a little bit keen on Goldman in the Gosford Cup, but Reggie on, I've lost me chubby for it.
Well, yeah, I went looking for low-hanging fruit too, to be honest. It went so well for start draws one, but then, yeah, it's just, if it goes to Rose Hill, you'd quickly horn up again because the fence is most likely to be playable, whereas Gosford, it could be brutal, and if he ends up third the fence like he did last start, there's a bit of pressure. Someone crosses him, it could be carnage, but he's certainly returning good form. And, the same horse that chased it home there was at Easy Shocker's probably the one that's, if he gets bailed up, the one to hold out again in that race. But overall, it was a bit more of the best, worst option sort of situation, went looking to target the horse that looked most vulnerable, shortest in the betting, and I thought Passagiata was the one.
Let's have a quick look at the market. So that's Gosford Race 9. It's the Triple M Thunder 1000 benchmark 78 handicap. There's a mouthful. 1,000 metre dash here. Passagiata $3. That's the falsy or the one that Walt wants to take on. Jetabeel $4.60. Mogo Magic $5.50. Jambalaya $6. Storm the Rampart $6.50. Our Bellagio is $17.31. Coat Deep Rouge $34, and then Iron Hat $34. That's the market, and the horse that you like, or the horses that you like, is Jetabeel and Storm the Ramparts. And to my delight, they're coming from the same race.
I did think that. I did type out the Gosford's cast worse than Hawkesbury not betting there, and then came back to this and thought I'd make your job easy. But Jetabeel, they're both first up here, and Jetabeel just had that pair closer inside run, had trialled really well. I've watched this about 20 times because I actually thought it sort of went a little bit better than it did. But the leader did have full control. He's a pretty fast horse. It's not as if they're stopping. And, it's just, as I said, sort of first up pipe opener. The difference in this race is you've got Passagiata. Watch its trials, quite comical. First trial does miss it a little bit, but she restrains herself, Schumacher, and holds it together. And then next time, a little bit slow out, she gives it the old Schumacher button press, and off she goes, about 27 in front. And they've chosen to offset that by putting earmuffs on this horse, which it didn't trial in. So if it's a bit sluggish out of the gates and earmuffs as well, Schumacher in two minds whether to drop the hammer little bit of speed. I'm just saying that this could be an interesting race to watch. So Jetabil and is drawn wide, so it's going to have to blend in about midfield, and I think it'll be strong. And the other horse, Storm the Ramparts, the old Joe Pride, blinkers off first up there in that in the replay we saw. Pipe opener, blinkers go straight back on today. We've got old Rory on, who can fall asleep at times, but he's drawn soft and should just tag the speed. He should be sort of 5th, 6th. I'd say he'll be very similar sort of field position to Jetabil, inside and out. And I'd have more on Jetabil just because it is shorter in the market. I think I'd be more confident it's going to get a run and be strong, whereas Storm the Rampart's a bit longer in the market and it's going to need gaps to open, but could be the blouser. Mogo Magic's first up for 220 odd days, apparently missed a trial. So Austin, what's the other thing? Jambalaya, gate 1, and is a fast horse. So hopefully it and Passagiata sort of soften each other up fresh, and the horses that have had the run come over the top. That's the whole play for me there.
Nice one. All right. I haven't got that far yet, so I can't really counter or talk about that race. So I'm tipping the boys down.
It'll probably end up on a good 3 at Broken Hill or something. They'll shift it and we'll all be cast again. We just kept adapting, don't we?
We do.
We love racing.
As punters we can, but owners they cannot. If it goes AWOL, they're just stuck and their horse runs around or they scratch.
Oh, my Blake, they moved Wyong to Newcastle today, which is probably the best wet weather track in New South Wales, arguably, I'd say. And I'm surprised they didn't move this meeting there, to be fair, because it's probably the premier meeting of the week, and then sort of handle Wyong somewhere else. But anyway, hopefully it all works out.
Lots of racing. So you just bet patience and pick the eyes out. Or that's what us sharks are trying to do, and trying to get into that shark net that Tristan's talking about.
Don't worry, I'm trying to find that. Is it like the rabbit-proof fence? That's us.
Getting in there. Sunshine Coast is the next race that you're going to have a look at, and this is what you've been doing, Walt. You've been jumping over Adelaide, you've been going to Queensland, you're just anywhere but New South Wales, which is good to see. And let's have a look at the first race too. It's the TopSport Bob is back, benchmark 85 handicap over 1,200 metres, and Periel's the favourite here, $2.80. Midnight in Tokyo 5, standing order 750, Lost in Transit 10, Ang Power 14, Red Ruby 17, Lubrication 18, and Swiss Exile $19. The horse we're going to have a look at is Periel from the Godolphin Yard. J-Mac aboard.
Yeah, so this is a trial, is it? Okay, so this is
this is the last start.
Oh, so this is last start. So this is Tashi that's chasing home here, which is, I think they come home about 9 above or something for the grade in this race. So whilst it may not look flashy to the eye, everything they're doing late, they're doing it, exceptionally fast, and I think the horse back to the inside.
Kobe son.
Insert name here. Brad Widdup's horse came out and won after this race. Tashi came out and run really well. And what James Cummings has really worked out with this horse. He's sort of fresh as best, I think. And he sort of gave it that mid-prep trial. I think it missed a run because the race were abandoned at Randwick, and then he's given it another mid-prep trial where it's moved really nice. Should be up here. James McDonald, I think you pay the tax in Queensland, but not as much as you do in New South Wales. And I think it'll be extraordinarily hard to beat. This is the other one.
Lost in Transit. Sort of knocked up in the Kendrick colours and runs about 5th.
Runs about 6 or 7 years. So I went through the whole race. There's not too many horses here, either in form, like wet tracks, run 1,200 strong, stage of prep. They're all pretty much vulnerable. Midnight in Tokyo is a mad wet tracker, but it's first up as well. I think it's drawn low. And it had one little quiet trial where it actually went all right. But this horse, Lost in Transit's just got a little bit of X factor. Got 1,400 metre form last prep, which is what I like. First up, last time in resumed over 1,000, went like a rocket. This time 1,200. Half missed it, was carved early to lead. And that was the product, what we saw there late in the race. If it just sort of jogged to the front here with that run under its belt, it's the horse I'd be worried that could sort of pinch 3 or 4 lengths and Periel may not reel it in. And if Midnight in Tokyo beats you fresh too good or Shah of Goma, something like that, you just got to cop it on the chin. But I think it's a very adaptable horse. Periel, I love when James Cummings works these horses out. 1,200's as far as she wants. So that's the query. Has to be well timed, her ride. But I think James will get it right. And hopefully the horse that's chasing is Lost in Transit.
It's going to be interesting to see. You're going to have a hard fit horse, and anyone vulnerable in this heavy 10 with sort of another 8 mil to hit it over the next 24, 48 hours could come unstuck. So
middle draws are definitely what I'd be looking at to begin with, at least. I'd be sort of thinking that's the best starting point.
And it always pays. I think the last sort of 10 minutes of betting, especially on these wet tracks, the betting does clear out a lot of chances that are just not quite right. Like the volume of money and the weight of money will certainly make
just
life
magnifies
easier.
any weaknesses, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
The
So
wet track.
if you've missed the boat early, there's still opportunity to bet late. So you could back Bob on what you like, and then you could save and work around it if you want to have multiple bets in a race. So there's a couple of different options, but I do find on wet tracks, the last 5 minutes can be really telling to a horse's fitness levels.
And we'll milk the Bob even more. The fluctuations are definitely much more aggressive on wet tracks late. So it's good to lock it in because you never know what's going to happen.
Racingwatch.com.au for more of Johnny's stuff. So he's the master punter, and Telegram or his Discord channel is the go. Kickstream this Saturday.
Mate, I just never stop.
Are you going to go
kick it up, charity things. Oh, mate, I don't even know what day
Spin
it is
the
at the
wheel.
moment. Spin the wheel of paint, mate. Wait till you see these stupid things. You've got your fake tan on my goddamn wheel of punishments. Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's going to get nasty if I stop finding winners.
Johnny's kick channel's worth a look, so make sure you check that out as well. So racingwatch.com.au if you want to get in there and bet all the time and listen to all the noise. And they talk about all sorts of different things. So very good in there. I'm going to have do a couple of previews on the Sunshine Coast meeting. And there's a couple of Victorian horses, Sydney horses moved up. So some pretty easy races to dissect. With the asterisk is it's going to be sort of in that soft and heavy range. So the first one we're going to have a look at is Sunshine Coast Race 4. And this is the Ken Russell Memorial. So all the Gold Coast races transferred to Caloundra. So check your weather radars there. Perspiration is the favourite here, $4.20. Imperial Force, $5.50. Ballastair is $8. Altoff, $10. Poster Girl, $11. Rich Dotty, $11. Barbaric Lad, $13. Frobel Star, $14. And Volatile is $16. Gin and Tonic, $17. President, $19. So pretty formidable lineup here. Replay I want to have a look at here is Perspiration, the favourite at Mornington. I do see that the TAB got knocked off. They bet $7.50 somehow, this horse. I think it's the rightful favourite, but here it is in the Kieran Maher colours. It was a huge run at Caulfield the start before against the bias, and I couldn't quite pull the trigger at $2.50 here. But I just didn't know where it was going to map at Mornington, and I just wanted to see it. I thought a bigger track would suit this horse, but geez, an emphatic win that day. And Snack Bar was the horse that it beat, the Godolphin horse, and it's won since. So the early shoppers will be pretty happy with the $7.50, but I think it's probably has to, given the quality of this field, $4.20 sort of has to sort of survive and last. So I'm happy to settle with it. Imperial Force is a horse, Walt, that you'd know, up in Sydney. It's got Nash, but it's drawn barrier 19.
And it's in Gosford in the first race as well.
Do you know which way it's going?
I'd say Gosford, but haven't heard anything for the last couple of days.
So
just want to dispute too, the colours, aren't they the Aussie Kier / Dan Kelly racing colours? Are they Mars colours?
Haven't heard much about Aussie lately. DK, you seen him at footy training?
Yeah, no, he's checking in with me, Aussie. Yeah, no, he come up and said, how's the punt going and everything on Sunday. So, no, he's young bloke's my captain of one of my teams this year. So, going good, young Lenny here. So, no, Aussie's good man, Oz. Good family.
Do they have the spots on the jersey yet?
Yeah, so who picked the captain?
Huh?
Did you appoint it, or was it the kids, the peers?
No, captain. No, that's the coach. The coach appoints the captain. No, that's my job. I had a good think about it, but no, it wasn't. No, he deserves it, and to his credit, relished the role. He's flying. So, no, good on him.
Lenny.
Anything there for DK with your captain?
No,
captain,
that's all right. No, just never know. Just never know what happens down the track. Could be working for Resimax one day. You never know.
That's a beauty.
Keep putting your hand up, Lenny. Just keep going, son.
Jeez, I'd be playing him full forward every week. No doubt.
I'll be playing wherever he wanted.
The other horse that I thought was a bit of a danger that's got a real sticky gait, probably a horse of the future, is Rich Dotty, Nico, a horse that you might know a little bit about. It's Beggy's horse. I thought she showed a bit of character to sort of poke her head through there on the Caulfield Heath, and I thought further the better, or this would be a good stepping stone, but I sort of lost my chub when I saw barrier 20.
Yeah, she's got some ability, jumped out super before the Caulfield win where she showed a lot of fight, but did have a few things in her favour on that day, and just looking at her as a type, I wouldn't be sold on her on a heavy 10. I'd probably rather back on a good track.
Well, anything out of these Sydney horses?
No, I'd just be scared that I think Altoff's in a couple of joints as well too, so just be wary of market changes due to scratchings. It's just it's definitely not a race that I've had a chance to get into yet, and the Sydney ones are Altoff was sort of not a bad debut. I think there is a bit of J-Mac tax there. It was sort of 25 to 1 in a pretty average maiden, sort of come down the outside, never looked the winner, ran okay. So it's nothing scary, but can improve. Imperial Force, definitely the choice of them but why isn't McDonald on it? That's very weird. So I'd say that Altoff's going there, McDonald's going to ride it, and Imperial Force is probably going to stay in Sydney. I would get the feeling, but not sure.
What do you think about the favourite, Nico, Perspiration?
Yeah, a horse with good talent. I think it's a good target for him. I'd like to see him with a pair of blinkers, potentially. I think that would be where we really see the best of him. He sort of hit the front there at Mornington, had a bit of a look around, then Brown got stuck into him again and he hit the line strongly. But I think there's still a good amount of upside there with him. So, yeah, you would have loved to take in $7. That would have been a bit of a gift. But, having a look at the race, there's a few other angles that you probably have to investigate a little bit more.
You see Nash is down on President as well. Waller runner, so he's down on President and the second favourite. So I would assume that President and Altoff are going to run there, and the other one probably heads to Sydney.
Pop out. So again, the shoppers that took the 750 early might be copying a couple of deductions, so might not work out for them that well, which will be much to the delight of Dan Kelly, who isn't fond of people knocking off his prices. Sunshine Coast Race 7 is the Hollindale Stakes over 1,800 metres, and Heatchote is the favourite here, 370 into 330 at TopSport. Covalika 420, Just Folk 650, Mighty Ulysses is 750, Naval College $14, Jimi Hendrix 15, Hu Ya Mal $17, Deny Knowledge Tearaway, isn't it, $20, and then Osmosis $20, Numerians first up at $21, and you got Ladonda V off 600 days or 550 days, which is scary, $21. Luncey's first up as well, $26. Unspoken in the Abyss, 34, and then Wapiti just fell in last start. Went round in circles, spent a fair bit of time in this race. I sort of felt myself channeling my inner Walt, and said nothing can win this race. Mate, I got dizzy on the merry-go-round here, and I watched a heap of replays, and I really wanted to sink the teeth in Covalika, actually. I've given him a fair few chances.
Sure horse.
I know, and if I've jumped off, there's big problems, but the replay we're going to have a look at is Heatchote, and with some speed in the race... Nash. I think it's going to be a similar scenario to this run in the JRA plate. Obviously, he's going to be a different scenario. He'll be out on the crown of the track, which might be the place to be at Sunshine Coast, given he's drawn 14. He might not be back on the inside fence, but I thought this was a massive effort. He got beaten 7 to another Willand Doncaster Prelude, stepped up to 2,000 metres, put a gap on him, wasn't stopping. 1,800 metres on a wet deck at the Sunshine Coast will be more like a 2,000 metre event. I'm looking through the race and thinking, okay, who's going to absolutely eat up the 2,000 metres? You've got Heatchote coming at this race third up. He is a Group 1 Doomben Cup winner. Kovalika, I just can't have him at the price. I think he'll drift heavily, $4.20, given his pattern. He's in the Abyss. I think he's more of like an $8 to $10 chance, Just Folk. Can probably stretch to 1,800 metres. A good win last start in the Hawkesbury Cup. I think Nico would have been vomiting. I think they were trying to buy the horse. Mighty Ulysses, has upside, but Heatchote would have dominated that field as well if he was in the same, coming through the same sort of race. Naval College first up, got to be a query. Jimi Hendrix, real query beyond sort of 1,800 metres and a testing one at that. Hu Yamal, I was interested. He's obviously got a lot of class, but again, first up, that's the right stable. But does he want a heavy 10 first up with a horse like Deny Knowledge just tearing off in front?
I don't think so.
And then Deny Knowledge, I thought, was a rough chance, but again, has to come back in trip. And then, a bit of a query on Numerian and Ladonda V first up, again with Luncey's. It's a different race, a completely different scenario if it's on a good track. But by default, I've found I just have to back the favourite. $3.80 probably seems an okay price. Whether
I kind of look at it, it's expected 6 to 4, so I agree. Everything lines up for it. Kovalik is just a nightmare of a creature, isn't it? Because it's just been so weirdly placed its whole goddamn life. So you don't know whether they've been trying to keep him fresh to keep him at these trips, and now how will that affect? How do you just can't line him up? So he's a complete nightmare. But you can line Wetter up. That they set him for this carnival every year, and that was probably arguably one of the better runs of his life last start. Whether he's in that, how big a fast lane that inside section was, that's probably the only little thing. But how does he not just sit back, go left, and rip home here? It's just $3.80 seems
fair.
It seems an auto bet. It really does.
If you can't buy him, back him. I'm just going to back Just Folk. He's just he's a gun wet tracker.
I thought about you when he won the other day.
These are the sort of races we wanted to target him for, I thought, he's a bit of a question mark at 2,000. He's not really a miler. Well, 1,800. This is what you get in a Hollindale, isn't it? So, yeah, if it's a heavy 10, he's a tough horse. He's on the back up. I think I heard Nash say in the post-race commentary last week that at Hawkesbury, isn't the grandstand like 150 metres before the winning post? He thought the horse... He's obviously a bit too smart for his own good. Yeah. He thought that was the finish. He said the horse sort of pulled up on him because he thought he'd been past the grandstand. That was it. So, I just think he's probably found a perfect setup there. And, yeah, Wetter's definitely the one to be. He's probably a better horse. But Just Folk, if you just isolate his wet track form, he's an elite wet tracker. So, MZ, he should get everything out of him. And good luck to Bedgood in the team there because they've done a great job with this horse getting the cash in that race and the Eclipse. So, well done to him.
It's weird that Nasho won on both those horses last start, and now he's on Kovalika just to grey up a little bit more. It's awesome.
It's just torturous, isn't it? I did see the Betfair content where they interviewed Gavin Bedgood, and I think the question was, do you like winning a race as a trainer, or you like backing them? And I think he said backing, and then he goes, both. But it was actually refreshing to hear a trainer, probably from more of the old school, that actually just likes to set them up and have a crack and have a big swing.
Have an opinion, awesome.
And knock the bookies over rather than everyone just plonking them around and not really caring and just collecting the prize money. He's good old-fashioned, and you can see why he's having the success that he is.
When you hear Mick Price declare one at 5-4 and it gets lapped, you don't really feel like he's done much of his own on it, do you?
No. That's what Gav said to Nigel Carmody after, what was it, Arthurian Princess or something on the other day?
Our opinion Princess.
Because he had dodgy one, I think, win the night before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he said, how are you going to celebrate? Gav, he said, I'm going home to count how much I've won on this multi. That's what he said. Which would have been big, though. One was 10 to 1, one was 25 to 1, wasn't it? God knows how much he's got about that.
If it's not Huerta, let's hope Nico's right with Just Folk. I'll be interested to see how the race plays out. It's an absolute doozy beyond the favourite there. So good luck if you're betting on that one. Sunshine Coast Race 9 is the next one I'm going to have a look at. I could have gone a multitude of ways, and I just think this is a really good value bet here. It's a bit of a raffle, and I've gone for a real wet tracker, I think. All that pizzazz is $5.
Race 9, Choppy McChop 1,000 metre, out of hell.
Yeah.
You are a psychopath.
All that pizzazz $5. Economics horse that you'd know, Walt, $5. Steady Ready $6. Queen Assassin $9.50. Nick Walsh down from the north. Ubiquitous $10. Hardware Lane $10. Hidden Well $10. F Troop $16 in from 31. A bit of danger. Will Robinson from the Golan Yard there. Goldsboro 19. Situation Room 21. And much better the rest. The horse I like here gets the big weight drop, and I thought he's done a really good job with this horse, is Hardware Lane. He's just sort of out the back. He's got the big baldy face. He absolutely loves a wet track. I think he's won 4 out of maybe 6 starts on the wet. He carried 60 kilos this day, and I know he's up in class, but crikey, I thought this run was absolutely superb from this horse, and the 7.5 kilo weight drop against this field, which has got no major stars outside Economics, who's off, is he off 200 days, 300 days, or 500 days? He's off a massive break. I thought he was an auto bet each way at $10. The only negatives, Mark Duplessis, the jockey, he can be a bit scary. But how do you say it?
1 plus
2
2
plus 3. It's Mark. 2 plus 3.
Yeah.
Mark Duplessis. Yeah, anyway, so they've got to find someone to ride it
Mark
at 52.5. So your options are sort of like CJ Graham, Mick D, perhaps Craig Williams, which he's not even right at the meeting with a few people over in Adelaide, and you're sort of doing your best with the jockeys. But I thought at $10 or $11, Hardway Lane with that Shalars moment form was good enough here, and he gets in really well at the weights. And this is the second prep for John Smurden. I think he got the horse off Mitch Beer, and I think a wet 1,000 metres will be right up his alley. I thought, on my notes, I thought they'd sort of go to an 1,100 metre race, but 1,000 metres, big track, wet track, right up this horse's alley. But Danger's probably ridiculous. Economics is a query. I know he's trialled the house down at 53 kilos is scary. But then, yeah, he's sort of looking outside the market for other dangers as well. It looks right up for grabs and a great quaddie leg.
I remember abusing old Donga for putting Malian on him at Ipswich or whatever the first day it ran for him, And now he's found this fella. But I think you found the right horse. It absolutely swims. Absolutely swims. So gate 4, geez, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to even put it out in the cosmos.
He'd be sort of a bit sick that it's not at the Gold Coast because obviously this meeting's been
only because it's across the road and he wouldn't have to get in the car.
He'd be thinking, oh yeah, Gold Coast, bat out of hell, this is the race for it, and now he has to ship it up to the Sunshine Coast. But I think it's going to, with the wet track, it'll end up being a blessing in disguise.
Free-flowing horse should just, 1,000 metres, it's go right behind him, wet track, perfect.
Better.
Yeah, I like it.
Be pressing. Any thoughts from you boys? Tipping not quite across the what?
You're not across the bat out of hell at the sunny coast.
The quality
500 days
form.
between runs and
No.
Yep, you're tipping correct.
Beautiful. Racing Queensland have jumped on board for the next 11 weeks with us. So great to have them on board supporting punters. And you need to check out their website. If you haven't circled back to the Racing Queensland website for a while, it has improved out of sight. It was probably the worst to do replays. I would have said, 7 to 10 years ago. And now it's one of the best. So they got Stewards Vision, they got sectional data, they got stride length data, and you can even download it and put it into your models as well. So if you like to record any of that information, you can just get the CSV files and upload them as well. So it's got something for all the punters. So make sure you make racingqueensland.com.au your home for watching racing replays for the next 11 weeks because we'll be sinking our teeth into the Winter Carnival and it's just going to be non-stop action. So we've got the Queensland Derby and the Stradbroke, which we'll be having a betting tournament as well. So more news will drop probably next week about that. So we're pretty excited to be offering that.
Where do we get the stride length for Nico Noonan?
What's that?
His stride length.
I'm not sure.
Like coming in to kick a goal. Where do we get this stride length?
Short steps at the moment.
Sure. Oh.
He's got the Jesse Hogan, Fred Flintstone twinkle toes run up, does he?
Little twinkle toes.
Not sure. I'd love to get down there for a game. Spewing. I'm sure DK would like to put his eye over him as well, being the super coach that he is. But
he could take Lenny down there to give him a pre-game pep talk.
Yeah, we definitely need it. I don't think we had one forward entry last week. So it was.
No!
It was just chaos. I kicked a goal off the ground, outside the gold square,
thin air,
and that was. I think until the last 5 minutes to fourth quarter, that was the only touch I had. So I thought we're going to be the only bloke to kick a goal without getting a disposal in a game, but got a bit of absolute junk time touches late. So we need a lift.
Oh, gosh. What a beauty. The old local footy, but DK appointing Aussie Sun's the hottest thing I've heard for quite some time.
But Lenny deserves it. Don't bash the kid.
It's PVL board level appointment bloody vibes about it. It's too good. It's got me actually. Donny's best.
G'day boys. Wet Sunny Coast track. I don't think there'll be much action this weekend. The only two bets that I could consider is roll on high in race 6, get blinkers on and fitness on its side, and economics in the last trialled really well on a wet track, gelded, and he's clearly the best horse, but has had a long time off. Good luck.
He loves the trialer, doesn't he, Donny? So we're going head to head, Donny and I. We're not swapping notes. We probably should, given we're in the same betting syndicate. He's going race 9, number 8, economics.
So it was Annabelle, or was it?
Yeah,
it was
Annabelle.
it was an Aquas horse,
now
right?
It's gone to Stewie Kendrick. Stewie Kendrick, that was Lost in Transit, who you were tipping earlier.
Yeah.
He is absolutely airborne, Stewie Kendrick.
He is
can
the
train.
horse. Yeah, it's a good horse, but
good trainer.
obviously long break. Don't know. The other one, the boys,
Roll on High is the other one he likes, and Nico and DK, you'd be all over this replay. This is the horse that we've spoke about on a couple of occasions in the show. I went back and had a look at replay, given it was held up. Yes, I think they're applying blinkers, as Donny sort of
blinkers
mentions
on.
here. Yes,
nose roll off,
which is a good thing. Barrier 12 might suit it. Might be better outside horses. I just didn't like the way it sort of extended after it got that sort of interference. I was sort of hoping for it to do a little bit more, but crikey, it's bred to get through the wet track.
It's gone, isn't it?
I thought so.
It's gone.
Why has he put it in the truck off? I watched this replay and went, ugh. Like, especially to stay 1200. I thought he might put it to 24 or something. Like, it just, I don't know. It's a weird one. But nose roll off's a weird one. You don't see that very often from the big fella.
Wonder if they'll race. Like, maybe he hasn't forecasted that. Do you want to just gut it on a heavy track, or just maybe he's trying to spell it up here and put a bit of the Queensland sun, hoping it'll grow or do a bit better?
Deduct the float trip up and then just leave it in a paddock somewhere and retire it. We're very confident in Donnie's selection, though. Geez, we're good blokes here.
Might just spell out the back of Canungra somewhere.
He's obviously bought a few up, right? And it's found a position in the truck, but it's just super strange placement. 1,200 blinkers on and nose roller. It's just a weird one. It's just super weird. Considering it looked like it was in for a good prep, and then he was like, I'm not going to race it and I'm going to do this. And it's just super strange prep.
I thought abounding it would be the best of the Queenslanders. Corniche
There's a horse.
is still up and going, but Steffi Magnegetia.
Well, it's in both
horse.
places too, right? It's a quadruple acceptor like half of the rest of the world. Which race is this?
If Steffi's 100%, she's up and going, and in Queensland, Steffi Magnetica will nearly win that. I would have thought.
Oh, this is the Moravia race. Maravia's been gelded, blinkers on. If it was a dry track, I'd be seriously horned up. It's just the heavy. I'm not really sure, and whether it's actually wound up to do 1,200 heavy first up. But I think he's a very, very, very interesting. We've trialled 2 times since 70 days between runs. He's the horse. I was very close to tipping until I kept looking at what they have 30 mils or 40 mils overnight again. I'm like, oh my God, you just can't 1,200 first up. But yeah, he's the best horse in that race, I reckon.
All right, so there you go. So I think we've covered about 6 races there at the Sunshine Coast. So good luck betting there. And
you've sold your soul to the devil, haven't you? You really have. We've gone deep dark into the Sunny Coast.
Longest show ever.
Well, it's a Queensland racing show, DK. You tipped it months ago. How did you know?
Can we give Hawkesbury or something the lemonade then next week?
Oh, mate, I was very happily we've even Gosford the thing, but I just kept getting these abusive messages saying you're a New South Wales person. You've got to have some opinion, you imbecile. So I had to have a crack.
All right, now we're going to go to Adelaide for the TopSport Steamers. I swear to God, I haven't had enough time
we go national scoop, national racing show.
And we still haven't talked about yet the DK's Chimmer thing yet. Or does that come later? We're still not to that segment yet, are we?
Yeah,
The big dog's going to come off the long run.
Everyone's tuned off now. No one's watching at the moment. Everyone will just wait for the email to come through. Morphettville 7's the first TopSport Steamer. Race 7, number 11, Jimmy the Bear. Jimmy, there was a massive tip for this horse first up, and crikey, the person who tipped it to me was absolutely filthy that it didn't win. So 500 at 850 is a bit of intent there. And I haven't done the race, not sure. Anyone else done the race?
Through to the keeper. Next.
Morphettville race 8, number 9, Nick Ryan, Johnny Rocker, 400 at $9. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, I thought he was okay in Sydney. Aimed up.
Could be the best form. The TJ into the bloody Goodwood. Walt said it's a Group 3, Group 2 race.
I hope he bolts in. Someone locks him in for the Everest, and the first 2 horses locked in for the Everest are Bustling and Johnny Rocker. Won't that be awesome?
Caulfield race 10, number 3, Baldino, 250 at $17 here for the last at Caulfield. Nico.
Yeah, one of mine. I'm just not sure how he's going this campaign. He didn't parade great. I think it was a few starts ago at Moonee Valley, and I'm just not sure where he's at. He's had a big sort of few months of racing, so yeah, just not sure. It was a bit disappointing last up.
A few of those horses going around in circles, so it's a gettable race, that's for sure. All right, DK, Big Jimmer, life.
Yeah, he's got life. He'll probably win next start on a mile with J. Allen on, but it's life. It'll be around evens. But how do they eat? How do the jumps? How do the jumps trial gurus and all the jump outs? How do they eat? How do they put food on the diet? I just don't know. Mar Wallach and into Big Jimmer, both trialled sensational, and both ran like they ran. So once a one-paced mile green horse, despite being gelded, always a one-paced mile green horse. That was the lesson out of Big Jimmer. So
you did enough the whole way up the straight to just have your bunghole really pinhole size though, didn't he? He was like,
it was back at the 800 where from barrier 3 he may as well have drawn barrier 11 because he would have ended up in the same spot following 150 to 1 chance. That was good. Anyway, fair income. Anyway, yep, there you go. That's why. So anyway, there you go. It's always after the race, but I thought might be gate 3 might have landed a pair. All he had to do was land a pair closer and it wins. Wouldn't have been impressive, but it would have won. Anyway, light on the ground this week, Scoot. I'm just going to have. So I've had something on a roughie tonight. I was surprised. It was big odds. It's in race 3, number 1. I think it's called Almighty Jab. It was a good run on debut in a good race. The thing of Clinton McDonald's. What's it called? Nico, the thing that.
Oh, Cranbourne.
Yeah, Angelic or whatever. It's steamed down the outside. Almighty something, or wasn't it? Sociable was in the race. Sociable's in for him. This thing this thing sort of went back, was hugging up the fence, following Haynes, who's right in the market in this race, and dead set got stopped in its tracks at the 150, and then you think, okay, well that's done. Then you watch them across the line, had the temerity to pick itself up and charge through the line. So its trials leading in have been pretty good. So
I was tipping this horse. I had him in the numbers on debut. Thought he jumped out really well.
He jumped out really well. So I went and looked at his jump out, another good look at them. He jumped out well. And geez, I was surprised they put up 30s. I think there's been a couple of scratchings.
On the home track too.
Yeah, barrier one, he can just park in behind them. And I thought, there's a few first starters and a 2-year-olds, bit of guesswork, but gee whiz, I thought, they've obviously put him up off the beaten margin first up, but not off the actual run itself. So, almighty jab at value odds just for 1x3 or something tonight. Scoot for me. I'm a little bit wounded after fucking falling the big Jimmer.
I could imagine so. Almighty jab. So it's Pakenham Race 3, number 1, Almighty jab, named after Lukey Marlowe. 26 into $13. And
I suppose the 13, is it?
26 into 13. So you could have told us before. Oh, you did.
I don't know if the boys heard this. Someone sent me the replay that there was a Prushka horse in at Horsham, I think it was Horsham. I can't remember. But anyway, it was back on the inside, like 3 back the fence, coming to the turn, and the race caller gives it it'll need the 4-leaf clovers from here in a nice little and it gets the run through. I think from everyone won. It was a great little reference. If you missed that, I'll send the boys the link. But they'll make referencing the 4-leaf clovers. I don't know how many runs that'll get. He might have got tapped on the shoulder, but oh man, what a game!
Tweet out the link. Poor old Lukey Marlowe was training for a fight, and he's done 6,000 on charity fight. One of those boxing night. He's done 6,000 because the boxing company's gone under. Done 6 cold, and he's trained all this time for a charity fight
organisation thing.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's
they sell out those joints too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, very sick. Yeah. Anyway, another way just to get beat. So there's plenty of carnage everywhere. You just got to keep your head above water and keep your X's down, as DK and AD, Mr. Dowdy always says.
Told me that 25 years ago.
Just worry
expenses,
about the
my son, expenses. And as Scoot and Walter know, when it going's coming for you, when you got kids and misses and mortgages and everything, don't worry about expenses. Tell you what, my God.
This is what drives you mad, though. Any of these PRA blokes that have got a family, 1 and 1's 2, boys. If you can't afford, if your pockets are tight, no one can afford to bet. So wake up.
Outstanding. All right. The show's gone for 4 hours, and
anything to add, DK, before we go, mate? Anything to add?
Nothing.
Okay. Short and sweet. Good luck on the footy this week, both boys. Little shout out to Lenny Kahir, doing a great job captaining DK's side.
Kick a bag this week again, Lenny. I'll put him at full forward. That's right.
Well, good luck on the weekend, and we'll see you next week.